Hi everyone, I am back today with a new Traveler's Notebook process video. I'm going to be using Cut to Use latest August cut file release and some fun flares from Scrap and Happy Studio and a little bit of wood veneer from Colorcast Designs. And I also have a stamp set from Kelly Stamps that I'm going to be playing with. So let's get started with these cut files. So this is a new August release. These are called Office Clips. I will leave a link to them down below. And as soon as I saw them, I thought they would be awesome in a cut file, in a traveler's notebook, because they have that like officey, journaly, cool kind of vibe to them that is really, that I personally prefer in my traveler's notebook. I really like my traveler's notebook. Messy, journaly feel, and having cut files like this that have this like office vibe to them is perfect. So what I'm doing here is I am masking off the clip part of the cut files. I want to add a bit more color and a bit more detail to them. Not a ton, just a little bit. So this is a little tedious. Yes, it took a little, it's not a quick process to cut down this washi tape and mask off the top part of these cut files. But I am one of those crafters that once I get a bee in my bonnet and I have an idea in my head, it has to be done. That's how it has to be. So I'm going to go ahead and continue masking off the entire top of these clips. So I cut one set of washi tape, masked one clip, but then I just used those washi tape strips on the other two. So that made it a little bit less time consuming. So now I'm taking my life-changing brushes and some Hickory Smoke Distress ink, and I'm putting a nice kind of thick layer of this distress ink over the top portion that I've masked off. What this does is it just makes the clips look, first of all, it makes them look more like clips, right? So we have the top part clip that's gray, like a metal color, and it provides just a little bit more of a detail. I always enjoy adding those little details to cut files. If you can hear this like crackly voice that I have, I'm so sorry. This voiceover is taking me an age because my allergies are not good right now, and I pretty much have been waking up with no voice. So I'm trying really hard to get some voiceovers done today because my voice is semi audible. But if it sounds kind of crackly, that's what it is. So I am now just going to go ahead and move all that washi tape over to the next clip and continue on until I have all three clips inked up. And then I grabbed an older 6x6 pad. It's the Chamel's original collection, so her first collection with American Crafts. I pulled out that 6x6 paper pad, and I'm going to back these clip files with some pattern paper, and then I'm also going to go ahead and back that hashtag stay safe, and that will be my title. Ever since my big spending freeze over the summer where my husband was on furlough and I really couldn't buy much of anything for quite a few months, probably 2 or 3 from May to like mid-August, I have been digging into my stash a little bit more for projects than I maybe would have done before. When I was digging through my stash during my spending freeze, I found some gems that I didn't know I had, but that I didn't want to get rid of. I wanted to use up stuff. Right now, I'm on this kick where I am not purging my supplies. I'm not giving supplies away. I am using them up. So I pulled out this Chamel 6x6 paper pad and decided that I would make the colors in that paper pad work for my spread. So let's talk about what I'm documenting here. These are screenshots of how I have been getting my news during the pandemic. My journaling is going to talk about how I learned very early on in the pandemic that for my personal mental health, I needed to be able to kind of have 2 places to kind of check and get the news and the information I needed quickly, easily, and without a lot of commentary, if that makes sense. My mental health was not handling the vast amounts of news media we were getting. So I kept where I got my news to a minimum of just 2 places. I would check them. One was a podcast that I listened to every day, and the other was our local news station. They would keep us up to date on how things were going. And I learned very early on that news conferences and lots of information was just not good for my mental health. So I have these little Scrap and Happy Studio epoxy flares. The one that I put down there by the map that shows Pennsylvania and how our COVID cases were, how many there were, things like that during the course of April. That one says, y'all gonna make me lose my mind. And then I have 2 other epoxy flares that I picked out that said things like online, taking it one day at a time, things like that, because that's how I went through April. I went through April taking things one day at a time. So I'm just deciding where I want to add some of these elements. I know I want to put a couple things up here, and I also know I'm going to do some more stamping. So this stamp set that I have from Kelly Stamps says things like currently, life today, routine. I know I use the routine stamp because this was my routine. I get my coffee, I check in on the podcast I was listening to, I check in on our local radio station in the afternoon or evening time, and then that was it. That was all the news I let myself take in, because any more than that and my mental health suffered. I would worry too much and have issues. So that was it. That's all I did. So I wanted to document that. And I'm just adding some stamps with just some black ink and a couple of these little epoxy flares across the top. Again, I'm going for that like messy office vibe, kind of like almost like a junk journal vibe a little bit, just having all of those kinds of stamps and almost random but not random, if that makes sense at all. And so I'm just finding little areas that I can document with just a little bit of embellishment. Now I'm going to go ahead and start working on the other side of my Traveler's Notebook spread. This is an older file from, I think Gwen released these in April. But they were little titles that said like hashtag stay safe, stay home. There was a little house border, a couple other cut files that she released in April, and I loved them. They're perfect for Traveler's Notebook spreads, and I knew I wanted to do this stay safe one because that was like the whole point of why I was checking the news every day, right? Because I wanted to stay safe. I wanted to get the latest information in a little bit of a snapshot. So I'm adding my third little clip. I love how those clips look across the bottom of this spread. I think this spread turned out exactly the way it was in my head, and that doesn't happen very often. So now I'm going to go ahead and do all of my journaling. As you know, my pandemic notebooks, Traveler's Notebooks in general seem to be my go-to heavy journaling type of a project. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of my journaling on this side, which basically just talks about everything that I just discussed with you guys about how I was handling the news media. So once I had my journaling done, I knew I wanted to add this orange flare in because that bottom photo with the photo from the local news station and how they had color coded our state had a lot of orange in it, and I knew I needed to bring some of the orange into the other side of the spread. I did the same thing on the other side of the spread where I added that little pink one because there was a lot of pink in the podcast screenshots. I wanted to make sure that the colors were okay, that they were kind of spread evenly, and if there was some of this color on one page, there was some of that color on the other page too. That was kind of my only design principle. The rest of it was just me enjoying the process and adding the stamping and the little flares where I needed to. And now that this is all done, you can see what a huge difference me coloring those clips at the top of the frames made. It really added to the aesthetic of the spread, and it made it, you can really tell, what this is supposed to look like, what the design idea was. I'm going to add some Nuvo drops. I felt like my two kind of areas of embellishment and the journaling across the top just needed a little bit more color. And this is a really awesome trick I learned from, I'm going to slaughter her name. I'm going to try not to. It's Hiba, and she is on, her YouTube channel is My Little Journal. She does amazing Traveler's Notebook spreads. I always enjoy watching her spreads. But when she does them, she always says when you need just a little bit of color to add Nuvo drops, because it just adds a little bit of color without kind of overwhelming your spread. And so that's what I did here. I just added a little bit of Nuvo drops in English Mustard, and the other one is a Stone Drop, and I think it's called Lady Liberty. So that's going to complete my spread for today. Thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure to head over and check out these super cute cut files in the Cut to You shop. I think that they are one that can be used again and again. They're one of those cut files that are kind of universal and really easy to use more than once. So have a fabulous, fabulous day. Bye.